Willow also has fellow co-founders who are here in the audience today, and I'd love for her teammates to stand up so we can acknowledge you. Sula Prentice Garg and Ani Schippel. Hi, ladies. Thank you for being here. And your fourth co-founding member wasn't with us here today, but she's back in the US, but definitely want to acknowledge her, Noelle Bastien, as well. So thank you for being here with us. Yes. Excellent. Well, good to see you all. How are we doing? And how are you nervous? Don't be nervous. We're just gonna have a good conversation, and I would love for the audience to get to know each of you. So let's first off just start off talking about your projects. Let's get a 1-minute summary of what your project's all about, and then Pepperluke, you can start off.
Yeah, last year in Greenland there was a project called Omdi's Lab that happened in Nuuk, the capital of Greenland, and I was very fortunate to be selected to be part of it. And my group, we were one of the lucky who made it to the top 3 of with the most innovative idea. And our idea, the main focus of our idea is to combat loneliness. Because in Greenland we do experience a lot of loneliness because a lot of students have to move away from home to go to school and have an education, and with that follows a lot of loneliness because you leave your family and friends and all, and which is why we wanted to combat that by having these hyggeaftener in Danish, and it says hygge is now part of the dictionary, and it just means like having fun together or having a nice evening together with new people and new friends, and to have these hyggeaftener, we would like to have these weekly events of where you learn to cook, or maybe you learn to, I'm from Greenland, so learn to hunt, learn to fish, and of course sustainably, where you learn how to use the whole catch of a fish, or it may be a seal, like where we teach them how to use the skin and the bones and everything to make it sustainable. And we're still working on it, and so far so good.
Fantastic. Thank you, Pepperluke. Willow, we'll move on to you. I won't go down the line, we'll pop around, but Willow, tell us about your project.
Well, we are 4 teens from the US, the small state, Rhode Island, also known as the Ocean State. And we've grown up by the ocean, and we're just devastated to see one of our closest friends hurting. And we've spent our lives reducing, reusing, and recycling, and we wanted to make a lasting impact that we saw the next best move would be to reform. We need to change our laws to get plastics off of our beaches and out of our oceans, and we saw the best way to do that was through the bottle bill. And our local lawmakers already had a proposed law called the RI Bottle Bill, and it would
It's all right. Tell us about so it's a Rhode Island bottle bill.
Yes,
right?
and it would be a reposit program, and it would help increase the quality and quantity of our plastic recycles. And it would also contain nip bottles, which are small alcohol containers that are currently not recycled in Rhode Island and are one of the main polluters in our ocean. And
don't worry, you got all of it covered. We'll definitely come back. Thank you, Willow. I'll have a few more questions a little bit later. We can get a little deeper. Perfect. Jacqueline, can you tell us about your project?
So I invented a material that I call CycloCloud, which essentially upcycles fish scale waste into a material that can absorb and remove heavy metals from water. And essentially what I found is that, so I'm from the US, And it turns out that the EPA actually has 0 federal standards when it comes to the amount of heavy metals that can be left over in wastewater effluent post-treatment. And even in my hometown where I'm from, the only mention of heavy metals in our water quality standards simply states that effluent post-treatment can be used for irrigation of farmland, since I'm from a rural area, unless it's been contaminated by heavy metals. So what do we do if it's contaminated with heavy metals? There's no mention of it at all. And I thought that this was a concerning gap in our water quality legislation, because these heavy metals, even at small doses, over time can build up in our environment because they never break down. Not to mention, bioaccumulation, biomagnification in the food chain means that those heavy metals will come back to directly affect us from the food that we eat, and we source it from the ocean and from our rivers. And I found actually that fish scale waste, which is something that currently has 0 economic importance, is actually already primed to absorb heavy metals. The fish scales that we most commonly source from the fish that we harvest, bony fish that we're familiar with, from tuna, cod, salmon, tilapia. Those fish scales actually have a 2-layer structure, an outer calcified layer filled with calcium salts, and an inner fibrous layer of primarily collagen, which is a matrix protein. And both collagen and calcium salts are primed to absorb heavy metals. Collagen's individual peptide building blocks can form complexes with heavy metal ions, while the crystal structure in calcium salts can have ion substitutions form between the positively charged calcium ions and positively charged heavy metal ions in solution as well. And I found that my invention, CycleCloud, at a cost of 23 cents a kilogram, can remove heavy metals up to, and that can actually take heavy metal contaminated water, heavily contaminated at 77 ppm, 1,000 liters of that water, and bring it down to EPA drinking water standards for heavy metals.
That is phenomenal, Jacqueline, and you went full-on science mode on us just now. So we're gonna have to go back and talk about the details, but we'll get to that. Thank you very much. All right, and Esta, would you please explain more about the Ocean Youth Summit Aarhus and what you were doing this week, what you're still doing? The summit is still happening.
So the Ocean Youth Summit is a 4-day summit that's going on right now, where young people from all over the world is participating in different tracks to learn how to connect to the ocean and how to make solutions that will help the solution be better in the future. So right now, all the participators, attendees, are on tracks on the themes of urban planning, creativity, food of the future, mindfulness and health, and innovation and startups, and biodiversity. To explore these themes and learn how they can incorporate the ocean rights and sustainable thinking under these themes in the future. So hopefully we're aiming to inspire young people to do better and go back home and make a difference on the ocean and its rights. Yeah.
Fantastic.
So yeah.
And how many participants do you have this week?
Around 100.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And building community, international community.
Big time.
And hopefully friendships that'll last a lifetime as well. Now, there are many different roles when it comes to organizing projects. Yes, please give it up for Esther. I know that all of you have worked very hard on all of your prospective projects, but it's more than just one person working on it. You have different people on your teams. So I'd love to talk about what it takes and your perspective on collaboration. So tell me about the roles of your teammates and what inspired the original idea. So we'll go back, let's jump back to Jacqueline, and you can start there.
So how I got started, getting to CycleCloud is essentially a culmination of a lot of different experiences and probably decisions that at the time didn't seem really life-changing, but looking back probably really did change my life. So essentially my second grade teacher is kind of the first one to get me excited about science, okay, I want to do more. And so when my school started their first science Olympiad team when I was in 3rd grade, I joined them. And I actually ended up doing it for all the way until my senior year of high school, so for a total of 10 years. In 5th grade, so I was like 9 years old, turning 10. I was reading an oceanography textbook. It's called Oceanography 12th edition by Tom Garrison, and I read that and I was like, wow, the ocean's amazing. But at the same time, there are sections that talked about the plastic problem and the pollution that's happening, the loss of biodiversity, and I was like, why are we doing this? Like, what's happening? Because the oceans are beautiful, and something needs to be done. And I mean, of course, at the time I was only 9 years old, and maybe not felt fully aware of all the circumstances in the world. But that drive, why like something is wrong and we need to do something about this, ended up filtering into research projects I conducted on my own. For a while actually, I did developments, upcycling waste into various bioplastics, alternative materials to plastics, from like lignocellulosic fibers. I sourced from things like paper waste, old clothing, cotton t-shirts, corn husks, and other biomass that I found in my everyday life. Also crustacean shells, like from crabs, shrimp, shellfish, and also fish scales actually, which is how I came to know fish scales not only were a waste that are potentially an untapped resource, but also have these unique properties that could be applied to solving environmental issues. So, yeah, it's been a long journey.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jacqueline. And Willow, what about you? You have your teammates here, some of your teammates here with you. How do you work together, and what does collaboration mean to you?
Well, I forgot to mention earlier, so I'll give you a little more context. We took the Ocean Races learning program for teens, Generation Ocean, and we learned about ocean rights, and we were challenged to bring ocean rights into our community. And we did that by making a video and starting a social media campaign to educate our community and our lawmakers on the importance of ocean rights and the bottle bill. So we worked all together to write the script, and everything you hear is us speaking as one voice through the ocean. And
Beautiful.
I'd like to thank them because they're so amazing.
Cool. And then, thank you very much, Willow. Pepperluke and Esta, we could tap just briefly on your teams and how it works and how you keep your organization going together.
Well, we first met last year in August in Greenland, and we were put in a group, how do you call it, like randomly? Like we didn't know each other, but we had this great chemistry, and I've made new friends, which I'm happy to say, and it's been great, and we still keep in touch, and I've been developing the program, the idea a little further with their great input, and we have group chats and more of that where we discuss if I get stuck on some point, then I will ask them and they will give me insights or some points to how to make it work. But it's still a working process, so we'll get there someday.
Excellent, thank you. And Esther, what about you? You have a whole team of creators that have put together the Ocean Youth Summit.
Yeah, so we are all the creators are volunteers. We've been working on this for almost half a year. So people are doing it out of all kind of different interests and backgrounds, but basically we have been together in these small teams working on these themes, trying to put together a cool program for all the attendees. So people are biologists, experienced designers, marketing people, like all kind of different young people trying to put together the summit. Yeah.
Fantastic, fantastic. So tell us about the next steps in the project. So you've talked about how it started, but where are you planning to go? And I'll take it back to you, Esther. Like, what are your hopes coming up for the youth summit? Do you want to take it elsewhere? Do you want to keep it here in Aarhus? What's the plan?
Well, it would be awesome if there could be a youth summit every time the ocean race goes somewhere, I think.
Oh yeah.
But I think it wouldn't be it could also be here in Aarhus, for sure. I mean, I think there's maybe lacking a focus of sustainability and the youth and how to actually take the young boys seriously, for example, in politics and legislation. So I think it might be a good place to start, and I hope that a summit like that could live on different places, yeah.
Fantastic. And Willow, what about you? Where are you hoping to go next?
Well, when we get back home, we plan to try to set up meetings with each of our representatives throughout Rhode Island and talk to them one-on-one about bringing ocean rights into the conversation every time they make a decision to consider the ocean's needs, and to have them support the bottle bill as a first step. And once we get that passed, I think we plan to find more laws and more ways we can help support the ocean.
Love that. Jacqueline, what's next for CycloCloud, and what do you want to do with the project?
Well, so I just finished my first year of undergraduate studies at MIT, and so it's been a little difficult managing progress on CycloCloud since I started senior year of high school with the change. I actually also got involved with a new research project relating to making cement greener in order to reduce the carbon emissions related with cement production. But my plan is I've been networking through my lab group, and I'd also would like to get connected with more of you here as well. And I'm hoping to soon, I'd like to expand on the research I've already done, get a better sense of the processes behind how CycloCloud works, the absorption process, and how to potentially maximize it. And I guess also start talking through potential logistics, what would it take for CycloCloud to be implemented as a potential real-world solution. So yeah.
Love it. Thank you. And Pepper Luke, where do you want to take your project? What's next?
Well, as I've said several times, it's an ongoing process right now. But I do imagine it I would love to start it in South Greenland, and then hopefully make it enough of a success that it somehow spreads through all of Greenland, because it is this combat of loneliness. It doesn't happen in just one place. It happens everywhere. Everyone knows that feeling of loneliness and needing someone by your side. So I believe that this project, this idea, could someday be a whole global thing. Well, at least I hope. But yeah, I would love to see it all over the world.
Now, we're sitting on a youth panel, like dubbed as a youth panel, and I know that coming into certain spaces, youth are sometimes marginalized in ways and held in this light where it's like, oh, youth will save the planet, they're gonna save us. And I feel like that's a lot of pressure, but I'm curious to hear how you all feel about that when that topic kind of comes up, and how are you taking a stance as a leader in this world and in this space, the ocean space. What do you want the elders to know about your role in this movement? And who would love to start? Let's start with Esta.
I'm a bit provoked when people say that it's on the youth to save the planet, because I think it's a responsibility for everyone who's alive right now. And of course, maybe the youth is more, prepared to make changes, or a bit more aware of how it's gonna impact us and our children, but we can't do it alone, and we need the people in power to do something, and that's not the youth, that's the grown-ups who need to do something. So yeah, well, the youth is the future, of course, but it's happening now and not in the future, so it's on everybody and not just us. Yeah.
Exactly. Willow, what do you think about that?
Well, me and my teammates have talked about this before, and we all agree that it makes us angry, because it feels like the people in charge and who have power are just dumping a mess into our laps and hoping we'll fix it, which feels a bit lazy, honestly. And we think that youth will continue to grow and change this world, hopefully for the better. But right now, we need the people with the power to hear us and start making changes.
Yes. Yes. Jacqueline, Pepaluk, do you have anything to add there?
Yeah, I guess I'd like to consider a little bit more optimistically. Of course, the people in power do need to take some action. But I'd also say it's also a testament, I think, to how much progress we've managed to make so far. Today's youth and all of us here we only can be here because of the work of those that came before us. So I'm grateful to be fortunate enough to have grown up in an environment where I was able to access this information and learn more, so that way I could start taking action pretty early on. Also, thank you to Rise for being the one to bring me here, actually. Shout out to all my fellow Rise winners over there too in the
Rise
audience.
winners in the house. Hello, wave your hands. Where you at?
Yeah.
Hi.
But of course that comes with the flip side. As great as it is that we have made the progress we have, it also means that it is critical we keep this momentum going for the future. If we want to see the future that we really want, then we have to work hard for it.
Amen. Yes. Thank you, Jacqueline. And Pepaluk, what about you? What's your sentiment about folks saying youth are responsible for the future?
I would like to answer that with a question, saying, why just the youth? Why not all of us? Mm-hmm. Like, the focus should be on all of us. Like, we can all make a change. Like, earlier this week, we learned that one person going out picking trash in the ocean, yes, that makes an impact, but not a whole lot. So if we all did do one thing together, then we could make a much bigger, much broader, and much better ocean and world and nature and all that. So my question for that is, why can't we all contribute to that?
Absolutely. Why can't we all? Now we just have a few minutes left in our panel, and our final question is regarding ocean rights. And I just would love to hear about how your projects are potentially contributing to this idea of ocean rights, and do you think that it's a viable solution for the future? And I'm going to go back around. Esther, would you start, Rudy?
Well, I believe that people tend to care more about a certain topic, in this case ocean rights, if they are enlightened and maybe have a connection to the ocean. And the Youth Summit is a way of giving that to the young people who are attending. So hopefully, when they learn more about the ocean and they think about solutions for it, they are maybe also more motivated and in for making the ocean rights, which I believe is the right solution. So through the Youth Summit, hopefully raising this awareness and putting it in the minds of people, like having it with you all the time. So, yeah.
Awesome. Pepperlook, what about you? Should we pursue ocean rights?
Definitely. Coming from Greenland, in our culture, ocean is life. Like, ocean, it provides food, ocean provides energy, ocean provides serenity, ocean provides the calm in our lives. So it should definitely have ocean rights. We just have to be certain that those who maintain the rights, those who make sure the rights are kept, are also held accountable. Also make sure that we keep these rights, that we are ensured that they stay there forever, hopefully, and making sure that the oceans have rights just like any one of us in here.
Yes. Thank you, Pepperlook. And Willow, you've already done extensive work within, the idea of ocean rights. What do you think are the next steps forward to push forward the concept?
Well, a wise person once said that the ocean has rights, it's always had rights, and it always will have rights. And I think it's time for humans to honor them. And whenever we talk about anything, make a decision, choose to have action, we need to remember that we're not the only ones that we affect. And it's time for people to hear the ocean.
It's time for people to hear the ocean. I love that. And Jacqueline, round us out. What are your thoughts on ocean rights?
Well, I think ocean rights, I mean, with my project and everyone else's projects here, they're all, essentially, it's a proof of concept that the ocean is something that, is definitely not something just to be exploited, but something to be worked with. We can learn from the ocean, from nature, to solve current issues. We can work with it and how it functions, from maybe integrating circular economies to learning to source more sustainably from resources that utilize resources in a way that are more in line with how the ocean naturally works. And that's why I think the ocean deserves just as much protection as anyone else, because we should cherish it just like we would anyone else.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for using your voices today. And in case anyone in the audience wants to support your projects, can you just quickly just say your website or a social media handle? Do you have one yet? Not yet? Okay, well that's okay. Well then talk to Peppa Luke afterward. Esther, do you have the website or the social media handle?
We have a website called the Ocean Youth Summit, but I think otherwise just spread the word, make everybody want a youth summit again, I think. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yes, Jacqueline.
Social media, I guess I check Instagram most often. My Instagram handle is just Jacqueline Prowera, all lowercase, no space. Or alternatively, my email is jprowera@mit.edu.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Well, our handle is Ripples of Change RI.
Ripples of Change RI.
Ripples of Change RI. We're on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. And I guess just talk to your representatives, talk to the people in charge, and let's get some things done.
Let's get some things done. Yes. Please, another round of applause for our panelists. Thank you all so much. So it's always amazing to see the leaders.